Hey everybody, Ken Clark here with Get Your Fix team. Chris Allen with Allen Cinema is on the camera. So Jim and I were talking for so long about the State Fairgrounds, we just blew past our time limit. So we've cut this in two parts, and what you're about to see is the second part of my interview with Jim McPherson, board president of the Arizona Preservation Foundation.
Got it.
All right. Okay, so the WPA building was a catalyst for another conversation about what happens with the State Fairgrounds largely. Again, state owns the State Fairgrounds, so they ultimately decide, the legislature and the governor, and there's not really any money to do anything, so what are we left with? What's happening? What has happened?
So over the course of those 5 years that we've been meeting together as a stakeholders group, making friends within the community and bringing on more individuals who are interested, including businesses. The city of Phoenix has now said that they would pump in $120,000 investments, Phoenix IDA $80,000, and the state of Arizona $120,000. So, and then in-kind funding and also some private contributions. So with all that pot of money saying, okay, there is an interest to protect the building, what are the next steps? So the governor came out and said, I want to learn more. I want to find out what the public feels about
to his
this.
credit.
To his credit, exactly. So put out an online survey. Got a lot of responses. There were some public charrettes and meetings held. You helped organize one of them back April of last year. And
2017.
2017, I'm sorry. And that got even more feedback from community members. And then in March of last year, there was a charrette pulled together by the governor's office, the State Historic Preservation Office, and the fairgrounds, and issue was very supportive as well.
Can I stop and define a charrette? A charrette is a meeting with a mix of architects, specialists, planners, and people from the public. You kind of can find in one place for a day or two, and you just kind of throw all kinds of ideas out, and there's kind of a structure.
Brainstorming at its best.
Yeah, okay, so let's continue. So what are the results of that?
So over the course of 3-4 days in March of last year, significant planning went on, and a report was created out of that. But the results were some very, I would say, low-cost alternatives to just leaving the fairgrounds as it is, because we all realize that the fairgrounds needs help. The streetscape is very outdated, dilapidated. It's like 80% parking lot, but there are things that can be done. And out of this charrette came some very interesting and affordable and useful suggestions to help move a couple things around. And to our what we appreciate is the role of historic buildings within the context of the entire fair.
And I was there for the meeting, at least the end of the meeting. And can you just show the here? It was, yeah, just so people can recognize it. It was a great report, and it was some really, really clever ideas about what to do with that space.
Exactly.
Can we talk a little bit about, there's two major directions that this could go, what we've been hearing people talking about, but I think you and I agree, no matter which way it goes, you must 100% preserve the historic buildings.
Right.
So let's say scenario A, the fairground exits, or the fair exits the fairgrounds and goes somewhere else that's got more land and more space, right? What could happen in that scenario?
Okay. So now you're seeing, for example, in the warehouse district, and now along East McDowell and East Van Buren and now East Washington, the adaptive reuse of historic buildings. And we're saying, use these historic buildings, the fairgrounds, in this part of town to do the same sorts of things that are happening in the warehouse district, where new companies are coming in, new restaurants, new galleries, new activity, and
that could happen. So, and then there's some talk from your developer kind of folks who are saying, we'll put a bunch of apartments there, which I know the folks in the Fairview neighborhood are saying, heck no, I don't want you looking down in my backyard.
Right. Well, in our discussions with city economic development folks, they look at it from the standpoint of where are the opportunities for growth that are not in the suburbs. Where can we build? And the west side of downtown is one of those areas because it's been traditionally industrial and railroad, and there are empty lots and empty parcels that could could benefit from some development.
How many total acres are we talking about here?
Of the fairgrounds?
Fairgrounds.
I think it's around 88.
80, yeah.
Now that doesn't count, the parking on the west side,
Right.
some other things.
Okay, so scenario B, State Fair stays there.
Yes.
What do you see happening with that? What could happen?
Well, from the standpoint of the WPA building and the Gem and Mineral building, we've actually had a private company come in wanting to do make it a new place, a
Right.
restaurant, a brewery, possibly an event space, possibly a beer garden. And then we had talked about in the charrette of the grandstand, the huge grandstand where the seats level out, where that could be a place for public markets and food truck Fridays. The access could be very cool, be very easy for folks in that area.
So of the scenarios that you just talked about, it leaves or it stays, it sounds like the historic buildings are central to making it more usable all year round. I mean, in the scenario B, you've got to find a way to update those buildings, still accommodate a fair, which uses every inch of space there.
Right. Yeah. It's the buildings need some tender love and care, but they can be reused. And that includes WPA building as maybe a restaurant, brewery, Gem and Mineral building, event space, grandstand is a place for events and activities like Food Truck Friday and public markets, those sorts of things. There are other buildings on McDowell that are definitely used by the fair, but they have some opportunities as well.
Okay. And if people who are just learning about this issue, and they wanted to participate in some way, where should they go? How do they follow this? What's the best place to get informed?
Let's see. Well, the best place to follow news and activities would be probably Arizona Preservation Foundation Facebook page. We really post the most news there. We have a separate page specifically on the fairgrounds on that. We're updating our website, so we're hopefully make that even more user-friendly for folks who are interested in things like that. Interestingly enough, another kind of an interesting partnership that we've developed with the fairgrounds is on April 11th. Buy a special ticket online and the funds will go to Arizona Preservation Foundation for preservation activities in and around downtown and Maricopa County.
We'll leave it with that plug. Jim McPherson, thank you so much for everything you do.
And for everything you do. You've been very helpful during the whole process. Appreciate you so much.
If you all have questions, you want to learn more, follow the links, look for those websites and the Facebook pages, and keep following us because we have more interviews to come.